to perceive the context of something. So if the template is already in your mind, that means all that can be seen is inside of your own consciousness. Ain't that deep? That means in order for me to see it, my iris and my eyes have to be able to formulate in that pattern. It has already have to be there. Because I'm seeing something that's projecting off of my own consciousness every time I look at an object. Literally. Literally. So if that's the case, that means all knowledge and information and anything that can be learned or can be seen is already inside of our minds. And that's when they get to talk about creative visualization and imagination. Because now we're changing our minds and changing our internal world so that we can see a different external projection. So we can see something different out here. For a long time we've been driving by seeing abandoned buildings. We didn't know that was a projection. We wasn't seeing temples and cultural centers and places where our people can. We wasn't seeing that, but it was the potential for it to be seen was there. But we had to change our consciousness and elevate our minds and become open-minded and step out of the box of white imperialism, white colonialism, in the mind of somebody who has been held under captivity. We had to step out of that so that we could see something else. And when we begin to see that there could be something else, then we begin to contribute our energy and begin to project something else. And that is the process of creation. So my point that I'm making is back to perfecting our egos. Perfecting ourselves beyond our egos. We don't have to be this, that, or the other. When we talk about Imhotep, we talk about the father of medicine, but yet a diplomat, yet law, yet scholar. When we talk about the Shaolin monks, we begin to talk about healers. We begin to talk about dietitians. We begin to talk about martial artists, studiers and scholars, all in these particular boxes. All that fits into the concept of being a monk. You're all of these things. They got us looking to be one thing in this today. I'm a husband, I'm a wife. What the hell is that? Do you hear the point I'm making? We're one-dimensional. And for the other dimensionals that we do not want to discover about ourselves, we depend on the white man for all of that. Do you understand what I'm making? And he's incapable of sufficing in that area. So we have to expand our consciousness to truly be not all we can be, but be more than we can be. You know what I'm making? We have to expand our minds to say, well, because we see people that do something that they're supposed to do. And we even feel that they're qualified to do it. But when we find out that they won't and are not going to do it, we have to step up and do it. And sometimes we know that people who can make divine contributions to nation building, that they could bring services to help us move this thing along, but they're so stuck into the white supremacist mindset, I'm not going to give my skills to help black people. This is for my individual elevation. I'm not going to give my services to help y'all. If y'all niggas ain't got no money, the hell with y'all. So we have to begin now, instead of trying to get them to do, we must begin to become the students of them, of their knowledge, and learn from them. Because we ain't going to get them to help us, but they may give us the knowledge so that we can do it ourselves. But we got to go beyond the ego of this is what I do and this is all that I can do. We got to do anything and anything that is necessary to be done. We must be able to do it, and we must be able to fulfill those positions. Anything, any aspect of nation building, we must be able to do it. Because we will find ourselves in a manner of situations that if we're not thinking with that type of consciousness, it's not going to happen. Now I want to say that the work of a devoted nationalist person, the work of a spiritually enlightened, black enlightened individual, the work of that individual is more profound, is more powerful than the most skilled and talented individual on the planet. Because of the intention and the purpose and the focus and the contribution, the work has more power now. Just out of that alone. I'll give you an example. We say, we want to feed our people. We want to feed our community. We want to be able to have food for our people. But when we think of food, we begin to think that we must become a chef to feed our people. That we mustn't have 10,000 recipes. But it's a person who cannot cook. But no chefs. They say, well, could you come and help and cook for the people at the nation and help us because we're going to start feeding our people and we want to have good food. They're not going to do it. But a bowl of oatmeal by a person who can make no other food, y'all heard the point I'm making, is more powerful than a person who can cook every dish in the world but will not do it because they only cook for white supremacy and white nationalism. So that means we must be able to appreciate the simplicity, the simplistic contributions. We can't get too far out into white supremacy that we don't feel like we're doing nothing unless it looks like or appears to be like what they're doing. Mm-hmm. This is where we get lost at. Mm-hmm. So we don't appreciate what we have and where we're at. But when we begin to appreciate what we have and where we're at, then we begin to add quality to that. Because their society is overcomplicated anyway. We're not trying to beat them in complexity. That's the problem, complexity. Yeah. They've made everything complex. Simple things. Healing, that's something simple. Healing is something simple. But it's complex. 50,000 different doctors. You get what I'm making? 50,000 different specialists. But health is something simple. So that complexity has confused our society. So we don't want to be masters of complexity. We can offer you this, that, and the other, and we got all this set up, and we got this great organized complexity. But at the bottom of it, we don't have a goddamn thing. You got a menu this big, but the waitress is taking too goddamn long. Yes, y'all hear the point that I'm making? Let's just keep it real. You got a big menu, 5-page menu, but you sit in a restaurant for an hour and 30 minutes. This is what I mean. It's great complexity in their society. And that's our major problem. So we must begin to appreciate simplicity. But we have to go beyond our ego. Because the ego is stimulated and aroused by complexity. That's why we have consumers. That's what consumerism is. You walk into the store and the complexity arouses you. Look at all of this. Look at all of these different things. Options. I can't afford none of it. I'm window shopping. But the complexity has astounded us. Nation building is simplicity. Because now it's a process of elimination. We begin to eliminate what we do not need. We do, because some people want so much, they have become immobilized. They said, I want a car, I want a house, I want this, I want that, I want this. And they want all of these things. And they're sitting on their couch. Do you see the point I'm making? I want to travel the whole world. But they cannot leave their couch. So when they are able to appreciate the simplicity of what they have, then they begin to get started and get moving. Then they begin to build. And once they master the simplicity, from somebody outside looking in, it will be the most complex thing that you have ever seen. Literally. But at the essence of it, it is very simple. So people who are about complexity, who've got lost in complexity, have become great marketers and great scam artists. Literally. They have mastered scamming the people. Because the process of life isn't simple anymore. You have 50 different options. Millions of options, and they cost different prices. Each option is another price. If you want more options, the more money you need to have. So my point is, in nation building, we get back to the simple way. The simple aspect. We don't need big organization meetings. We need people who are internally organized and focused to do what is essential. You have these big organized of all these people who are egotistical, who want to validate their knowledge and intellect. But when it comes down to the work, they're not going to do absolutely anything. They will not be accountable. They will not be there for the work. And they don't want to do the work, which is why they're organizing so much. If you spill a cup of milk, you don't need to have an organizational meeting. You need to get a mop. These people will spill a cup of milk and have a big milk meeting. Well, I'm going to sweep that angle of it, and if you go at it at that angle, but no, I'm better at that angle than you are. And by the time you get to the end of the meeting, the milk is, you know how milk get when it sits too long, it's like plastic.
Yes, sir.
Now it's become difficult to clean up. And that's what had happened to our community. It has become a mess. It's that spilled milk that everybody just wants to organize, and nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do the real work, and they're covering up their laziness and their intimidation by the work and their low self-esteem to be able to get the job done. They're covering it up with their complex strategies. The sister was telling me about the Black Panthers, saying, you know, they were excellent. They had a breakfast program for the children, and, you know, they was able to feed the children. And this is what's so great about the Black Panthers. I said, this is ridiculous. What you think was so great about the Black Panthers was the demoralization of a community. When you need an organized group of people to make breakfast for your children, when you have to organize giving your children breakfast, a monkey know how to feed their damn children. When you need an organized executive meeting of people with uniforms on just to give your children some breakfast, what has the level of that community amounted to? So we should not be proud that we had a need for a breakfast program. That's the problem. So what we begin to do with that type of organization is we begin to take up for people's laziness. That's what we're doing. We're saying that the community is lazy, and what we're going to do is we're going to compensate for where they are lazy. We are going to feed their children. We are going to set up a program to feed their children. This is laziness. When they need to feed their own children. And we need to exemplify feeding our own children. Y'all see the point I'm making? Not compensate for laziness as an organized institution. There is never going to be no organizational institution that can compensate for all the foolishness that is going on in our community. There must be a paradigm shift in the masses of the consciousness of the people. No little group can become the savior and save all of them from their laziness. All that a group can do at the most is awaken them to their laziness, awaken them to their confusion, awaken them from the misdirection of their energy, awaken them to the misutilization of their resources, and they choose to do something differently. But no group can do that. And when you see these people who want to organize these groups in that way, they are lazy. They are trying to organize themselves out of the work. They want to organize themselves out of the process. They say, we want to set up something so that we can have something for the children. So the children can be taught and educated. They are saying in that, I don't want to teach my children. I don't want to be an exemplification of the divine teachings to my children. There is somebody else who can teach them. That's laziness. That attitude must be challenged. Because you have not changed. So if a conscious person comes and teach your children, but they go back home to an idiot, then what has transpired? So the masses of the consciousness of the community has to be saved, has to be transformed. The consciousness of all of them. You can't just save the children and teach the children, because the children live in a society that's created and developed by the arm, leg, and arm, head of the adults. Mm-hmm. And to those adults who are building these establishments, to those adults who are setting the stage for these children to develop and to their minds change, there is no hope for the children. There's no hope for the children. So it's not a movement to save the children. It's a movement